Sir John, we've been scratching our heads trying to work out what Rishi is thinking with this appointment. Frankly, we're a little confused as to the reason he's come up with David Cameron of all people. There seems to be many other people he could have chosen. But we're assuming this is a kind of lurch back to a centrism that Rishi thinks will do better at the polls come the next election. I mean, do you, as Britain's most eminent pollster, believe that this will be good for the Tories? Will it in any way be good for the Tories come the next election that David Cameron's back in the fold?
I think the honest truth is, Kevin, that I think it's all too easy for both those who are sympathetic to Suella Braverman and those who are sympathetic to David Cameron to exaggerate the likely significance of all of this. Bear in mind that the position of Foreign Secretary is often one where the person doesn't have a particularly high profile in domestic politics, not least because for the most part, domestic foreign policy inside the UK is operating on a bipartisan basis. That's certainly true over the war between Russia and Ukraine. And for the time being, at least, this is also true about what should be done about what's going on in Gaza. And insofar as, yes, Lord Cameron may be playing an influential role diplomatically, but this doesn't usually mean a great deal of involvement in the domestic political spat. So the short answer to may be, it won't make much difference at all. I mean, I think, to be honest, of the two appointments, it is indeed the replacement of Suella Braverman by James Cleverly that's the more important. I think there are a couple of things going on here. I mean, in the end, I'm not sure that that's an electoral calculation being made by Mr Sunak, as perhaps two things. One is to have in post a minister, a senior minister, who seemed to be increasingly flouting the authority of 10 Downing Street, such that too, and perhaps this is the most crucial point, whatever support Ms Braverman has on the backbenches, by this morning, she no longer had any support amongst her ministerial colleagues. Basically, the airways have been replete with acceptance of government ministers, both senior and junior, to defend Suella Braverman's comments, both over the homeless and more recently over the marches. And I think what one also has to bear in mind also is that, if you're a senior politician, sometimes you have to remember that politics is a bit more than just about espousing your views. I think it's not unreasonable to argue that as a result of the way in which Suella Braverman played last week, that in the end, the pro-Palestinian march certainly got much more publicity, and it meant that the media were in effect required to put on the television and radio spokespersons in favor of that march, and they were able to make that case. And it may well have resulted in a much bigger size march as well. Sometimes in politics, it's better to play an inside game. And maybe if she played her cards rather differently, maybe the Metropolitan Police might have also been rather more willing to have policed that march rather more fiercely. In the end, they felt able to do so.
I mean, on that note, actually, seeing how feeble public opinion is, with two big conflicts going on in the world right now and so much division, particularly when it comes to what's going on in Gaza, surely Labour are going to turn around and say, well, David Cameron isn't here to ask questions to. He can't tell the House of Commons what's going on. And that's just going to make people in the general public who feel sort of pretty disaffected about this anyway get even angrier.
Well, Alex, do you really think that most people spend a great deal of time waiting till 11:30 at night to listen to the Radio 4 broadcast of what's said today in Parliament and distinguish seriously between whether or not the Foreign Secretary says something in the Lords and the Commons? Now, you and I might, but I think we should probably accept that we are the exception rather than the rule. The truth is, at the end of the day, Lord Cameron's immediate task will indeed be to assess what the United Kingdom's position should be vis-a-vis Israel. It is clear that the United States is getting increasingly uneasy. There are some signs in the opinion polls here that the public are also beginning to get uneasy, and that there is now rather more sympathy for the Palestinian side than was certainly true in the immediate wake of October the 7th. And that, that is going to be a considerable challenge for the new Foreign Secretary as to how the UK works out what is the best way of using its diplomatic clout in what is clearly a difficult situation. and a situation where the humanitarian consequences, at least, are beginning to make some people queasy who perhaps in the immediate wake of October the 7th felt that Israel had every right to do what it felt it needed to do in order to make itself more secure.